Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Cowboys Beat. And on today's video, we're going to be talking about Deuce Vaughn and the potential impact he could have for the Cowboys this upcoming season. But before we get in the video, please make sure to hit that like button. 20 likes is the goal. We didn't hit that goal on yesterday's video. I'm very upset about it. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate the support, no matter how much it comes in. And make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about Deuce Vaughn. I believe that Deuce Vaughn is an X factor for this team. I think he's one of the guys that needs to step up this training camp and just this season as a whole. When you look at the Cowboys running back room, they're a bit light there, especially when it comes to a guy who has some juice. I think that Deuce Vaughn is a guy who can fill that role if he's used properly. Now, Deuce Vaughn is a guy that you have to be creative with. You can't treat him like every other running back. It's kind of like Kevontae Turpin in a way. You cannot treat Kevontae Turpin like every other wide receiver. You have to do things a little differently for this guy. Now, I think that Deuce Vaughn has the potential to be a Darren Sproles level type of running back. Now, I know people are going to hear that and say, really? After that rookie season, you still think that? Okay, I want you guys to go look up what Darren Sproles did his rookie season. As a matter of fact, you don't have to look it up. I'll tell you right now. He had 8 carries for 50 yards his rookie season. So, it wasn't like he was setting the world on fire his rookie season either. Okay. And another thing that I do want to bring up before I potentially forget about it is the impact that Deuce Vaughn might be able to have as a kick returner with these new kick returns, the new kick return rules. I think that Deuce Vaughn is going to give you something there. Now, when Deuce Vaughn is on the field, is it a bit predictable? Sure. Make it unpredictable though. There were reports coming out of OTAs that Deuce Vaughn was taking snaps as a slot receiver. Some people interpreted that as like, hey, he's trying to find a role on this team. They're trying to give him a new position to see if he can fit somewhere. I didn't look at it like that, because when you looked at Darren Sproles and how he was effective in on all of his stops in Philadelphia, New Orleans, and San Diego, he was a really good receiver. Right? He gave you around 800 to 1,000 all-purpose yards per season. As a matter of fact, when you look at his receiving stats, he was more productive as a receiver in most years than he was as a rusher. So I look at it more from that perspective, more than I look at it from, hey, he's trying to hang on to a roster spot by changing his position. I don't look at that at all. I do think that they're planning to be a little more creative with how they use Deuce Vaughn, because let's be honest, this season, we'll have to see if they end up being as talented as they were as the previous season in 2023. I can't right now tell you guys that they're going to be a more talented football team. When you look at them on paper, I can't tell you that. But again, players step up. Guys take leaps in their career when it comes to their development. So we'll have to wait and see, right? But with the fact that right now the roster doesn't look as good on paper as it did last year, you now have to use the talent you have to the best of their ability, which is why, I talked about with Mike McCarthy, hey, I'm not giving you a pass if you fall short this upcoming season. You have more than enough talent. You give this talent to Kyle Shanahan, he's going to a Super Bowl. I mean, you give this talent to other high-level coaches, and they're taking this team to an NFC Championship game. That's how much talent this team still has on this roster, okay? So Deuce Vaughn is one of those pieces that I look at and say, hey, we got to make sure we use this guy properly, right? Now, when I talk about the predictability of Deuce Vaughn and how a team might look at Deuce Vaughn and say, hey, they're probably going to run to the outside here. Look for that. Okay, yeah, sure. One, just because a team knows something is coming, if you execute the play properly, you can make it work. Even if the team knows it's coming. It's all about execution at the end of the day. Two, I don't necessarily subscribe to the notion that if Deuce Vaughn's on the field, you know exactly what he's doing, right? There's ways you can scheme around that. Hey, if he's lined up to Dak's left side in the shotgun, bring him in motion behind Dak, pitch the ball off to him, get a lead blocker in front, and get him out in space. Hey, swing pass to the left, our arrow or a Texas route to the middle of the field. Let's try and isolate a linebacker on him, and let's try and get leverage like that. There's multiple ways you can use this guy other than just, hey, let's run him on the interior gaps. That's not his game. Now, granted, he can do that if it's schemed up properly, if the blocking's right. I do believe he can do that. I don't think that Deuce Vaughn is a lost cause. I just don't look at him like that. Now, granted, he was a 6th-round pick back in 2023. So, yeah, there were some people who didn't believe in him coming in the league. And based off just his rookie season, I can't say they were wrong for thinking like that. But I do think there's something to be said of, hey, Mike McCarthy, you weren't really being that creative with this guy. And at the running back position, I'm not afraid to play a rookie at the running back position, because when a running back is in their prime, is in those years from 21 to 26. That's when they're in their prime. So, one of those years is their rookie season. So at that point, you're kind of wasting a year of their prime. And especially when it comes to a guy like Deuce Vaughn, I look at him as a very smart running back. He seems like a very smart kid. He's just the right type of guy to have on your football team. Okay, so that's why, I am bullish on Deuce Vaughn. Not just for this season, but for the future. I think this guy could be a legitimate weapon for your team. And if Mike McCarthy can do a better job scheming things up for him, I think that, you'll get some juice in your offense. And I do think the Cowboys are maybe looking at this situation and saying, hey, we haven't addressed the running back position because right now we don't need to. Like at this current moment, you don't need to. If you get to camp and you see that the running backs aren't as good as maybe you think they can be, or the room doesn't look that good, you can go out and trade for a running back. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. You can go trade for a running back. If you trade a 4th-round pick, you can get a solid running back. The Eagles traded for DeAndre Swift, and they traded a 4th-round pick the following draft to go get DeAndre Swift. And he's like a very solid running back. You can do that, and you can get a guy. So that's why I'm not like necessarily tripping off the fact that, hey, we haven't really got a running back yet. It's because I kind of want to see how this room plays out. And if you can hold on to draft capital while also having a productive running back room, I'm cool with that, right? In this particular situation with the Cowboys, because I do believe in Rico Dowdle. I do. I think that Zeke is a very solid number 2 running back. Maybe he is the number 1 running back for this team. But if you're doing running back by committee, do I think Zeke can be like a lead guy? If you're doing running back by committee, like, sure, I think he can. But I mean, granted, if you're supplementing that with, okay, we're going to give Rico some carries, we're going to give Zeke some carries, we're going to give Deuce Vaughn some carries, we're going to get Turpin and CeeDee Lamb involved in the run game. We're going to do some things with the read option and Dak. Maybe he can give us about 100, 200 yards. I still think this rushing attack can be top 15, above average, which would be better than it was last year. But it's all about the how and how they scheme things up, right? I am very interested to see what this Steve Shimko guy from Boston College does. He was the offensive coordinator there last year. He is an assistant offensive coordinator on the Cowboys this year. I am very interested to see how this hire pans out for them, just because he is a young mind. This is a guy that there were some teams that were interested in this guy's services. He was starting to become a hot name, a hot young offensive mind. I don't know why I got fumbled up with my words there. There were some teams that were interested in him, and the Cowboys ended up getting him. He had their relationship with Brian Schottenheimer, and I do think that he's going to come in and tweak some things with the run scheme, maybe give Mike McCarthy some ideas, because Boston College, I believe, was top 15 in the country this past season with running the football. Their quarterback wasn't very good, so it's not like they were able to keep teams honest with a quarterback that can, light a team up, and now you're playing lighter boxes. Like, no, the quarterback wasn't really a threat. So they were able to run the ball on loaded boxes because they schemed things up in a certain way. I do think Steve Shimko is going to provide some tweaks like that to the run game. And honestly, having a young mind like that in the building is refreshing, right? Because I've always wanted the Cowboys to have these trees like Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan have, where it's like, oh, hey, Kyle Shanahan has Mike McDaniel, who's doing his thing. And then you have Sean McVay, who has all these head coaches across the league. Dave Canales, guys, Matt LaFleur. I think, you want to know what, though? I do think Matt LaFleur is a Shanahan guy. I'm not sure. I think he worked with Shanahan and Sean McVay. I would have to look that up to be 100% sure there. But you get what I'm saying. having a young mind like that, I think is going to be refreshing. I think there's going to be some changes with the run scheme. And if that's the case and they block things up better, I think the Cowboys are going to be perfectly fine running the football. Are they going to be like a dominant run game? No, I don't think they're going to be dominant, but I think they need to be efficient, right? Maybe they don't rush for the, I don't know, 5 or 10 most amount of yards in the league. But if you can be effective, be efficient, give Dak a break when he needs it, because let's be honest here, that run game in the playoffs for the past few seasons here has not been effective. As a matter of fact, over the course of Dak Prescott's career, the run game hasn't really been effective in the playoffs. In the playoffs in particular, it hasn't been effective. So I think that's kind of a component with the Cowboys' postseason struggles that I don't think people take into consideration, because it's just, it's the quarterback. It's the quarterback. The team has 8 other all-pros besides Dak, but it's just all on the quarterback, because people can't, fathom the fact that, hey, good players don't show up in big games sometimes as well. It's not just the quarterback. It might be the other guys on the team as well. But I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent there. So that's going to be it for the video, though, guys. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that, and I will see you guys in the next video.